Hey everybody, and welcome to my first video on my new YouTube channel, part of my MR Academy series. And my goal with this series of videos that I will make is to help elementary and middle school kids, maybe even some high school kids, we will talk a little high school today, is to help you guys understand a little bit better some of the content that you might not understand in school. Some math concepts, science concepts, ideas for reading, whatever it happens to be. And today, I am taking a recommendation for my first video that I got from Shelly Stowell. I'm going to call you out right there. Okay? This is a video talking about study skills because as I'm making this, we are less than 2 weeks away from day one of school for the 2019-2020 school year. So, some things that I want to make sure I hit at the elementary and high school / middle school level. Okay? When it comes to the elementary level, and I'm going to be talking not only to students but also to parents as well. Okay? When it comes to studying, parents are just as important as the students. Making sure that your students, that your kids are keeping up on their routines, keeping up on what they're doing. Okay? Being an inquisitive parent is not a bad thing. Make sure that you are staying involved. Make sure that you are letting your child know that you care. That's going to go a long way. They might find it annoying at times. Okay? I was there as a student, but there's nothing wrong with that. Okay? They will learn to appreciate the fact that you care, that you want to have a role in their education as well as themselves. So at the elementary level, some things I want to make sure that your student and yourself are both doing. Okay? Number one, get organized. When it comes to organization, I am very OCD. I need to have everything laid out piece by piece by piece. I need to know when I'm doing something. I need to have a process. Okay? When it comes to organization, though, especially at the elementary level, make sure that you have folders that your students are keeping things in. Make sure there's a take-home folder, that there is a folder for every subject that they have. Make sure there's a science, a math, reading, writing. You know, every possible thing that they could be talking about in school, make sure you have a separate folder. You don't want them to be keeping all of their reading, math, and science stuff in the same folder. That's not going to make sense to them. It's not going to make sense to the teacher as much. It's going to be harder to find things. And if you can't find things in school, that becomes a problem. And that is just a downhill slope from there. Okay? But having folders, having notebooks, an individual notebook for each student in every subject area, especially as you get up into the middle school range. Okay? Checklists. Sounds weird, but a checklist is a very important thing in staying organized. Maybe it's having something right before you go to bed. Did I do this tonight? Did I do this? Did I do this? It comes back to the idea of an assignment notebook. Okay? Checking off everything in your assignment notebook. Maybe you have a routine with your son or your daughter that you are filling out your assignment notebook as a pair or as a group every night, making sure that you are in the know about everything they've got going on in school, what they have for homework, what they have coming up. You can check that off. You can make sure that you know, that the student knows exactly what's going on in their life, and that you know as well. Okay? Make sure that they know you know, which is a very important thing. And then something that I have always done and that I've transferred on to my nephew as well, and that I see most students do this, but colors. Okay? Do not send your students to school with a black notebook for every single subject and then expect to just write a name of the subject on the notebook. Colors work. Okay? I'm 27 years old now. Colors work for me. I organize by color. That's something I started with back in elementary school. My parents started me with that. Making sure that for me, in my world, might be different in yours, but in my world, science has always been green. Math has always been red. Reading has always been blue. English or writing has always been yellow or orange. But having notebooks that are the same color for the entire subject, that match the folders, same color folder. If you choose to do binders, make sure you have the same color binder as your notebook or folder. Okay? Keeping everything in line. Because as long as the colors are the same, it's going to be easier for your elementary students and middle school students and even high school or college students to keep all of that stuff together where it needs to be. Okay? So all of that before you can even study for both elementary and middle school, high school, organization is huge. And routine. Routine is a huge part of making sure that your students are studying, that they're getting their schoolwork done. Maybe it's reading at the same time every night. Maybe it's sitting down, okay, TV off before you go to bed. For the last hour before you go to bed, no TV, or last half hour, whatever it is. Okay? And that's their time to read. That's their time to get their homework done. That's their time to have you sit down and help them with things. Maybe that's no TV time for you as well. Okay? Think about this. What is more important? Television show you're watching or your student? Okay? Your son or daughter. So we need to put priorities for you as the parent as well as your students. Okay? Your sons and daughters see that you are prioritizing them, you are putting them ahead of everything else that they have in their life, okay, that you have in your life. That's going to go a long way. That's going to show them a very, very big life lesson going forward. And hopefully they will catch on to that and they will move on with that mindset as well as they continue to get older. Okay? Homework getting done right away. Back in elementary school, middle school, that was exactly what I did. I would come home, I would knock my homework out right away, I would get it done, that way I wouldn't have to worry about it the rest of the night. As high school came along, it got to the point where I had more things going on. I had math league, I had baseball, basketball, whatever it was that I was traveling with. I had ultimate going on, I had a lot of things going on in my life at that time, and I would push it off until late at night, which became a problem. Okay? Getting it done right away. Now, I'm not saying it has to be right after school, because I know there are sports going on, there's activities. You don't always have your son or daughter coming home right away after school. Sometimes it's 7, 8 o'clock at night before you see them for the first time. And that can be a difficult thing. But if you can get that in that routine, that as soon as they get home, get something to eat, get a little bit of time to rest, and then focus on homework at that time, whenever that is. Or if it goes back to elementary school again, okay? Maybe it is right before they go to bed that they work on that. Okay? But whatever that routine is, I would try to get that homework done as soon as you possibly can after school. As soon as you get home, that way you can move on and do whatever else you need to do the rest of the night from there. Okay? But try to work it in, get it done as soon as possible, because of the next portion that I want to talk about, bedtime. Bedtime's an easy thing to talk about in elementary school. However, as you start to get into middle school and into high school, bedtime goes from 8 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock at night to 10 o'clock, 10:30, 11. Or if you're a upper high school student up in senior high, maybe bedtime is 1:30 to 2:30 whenever you happen to get your homework done, right? It's tough to do. Procrastination is a big thing, especially with high schoolers, okay? And sadly, middle schoolers too, I see. But if you can instill that idea, get a certain time that you're in bed at night, make sure that you have everything done that you have to have done by a certain time, even if it means turning the TV off or putting your phone away, as hard as that may be. Make sure that you are prioritizing getting your work done as soon as possible so that you can get to bed. Sleep is important. Okay? If you are going to bed at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, and then you have to wake up by 6:30 to get into shower, clothes changed, brush your teeth, all the hygiene stuff you have to do before you go, that doesn't leave a whole lot of time for sleep. That is going to create a situation where you're getting 3 hours of sleep a night. It's going to make you tired in school. It's going to make you lose your attention span. Okay, you're going to forget what's going on in class because you are sleeping or not able to focus. Sleeping is a big, big thing. So make sure you're getting to bed at the same time every night. Make sure you are emphasizing that as the parent early on, and then continue to emphasize that as they get older. Okay? It doesn't necessarily have to be that your 11th grader is going to bed at 7 o'clock at night. Maybe they want to. Maybe your child is like that. That would be a great thing. But as they get older, maybe you do need to push that bedtime back, or to just continue to emphasize the idea that, okay, you really should be going to bed at this time every night. Try to make sure that you've got your stuff done every night as well. Okay? And then ask for help if you get confused. Okay? Elementary students, reading is huge. Making sure they get their time reading each night. But there's also other homework that gets sent home. There is a lot of math. Primarily, math is the big piece of homework that gets sent home. And these days, there are so many other methods of learning different types of math. Multiplication, okay, for example. There are so many different methods that are being taught in schools these days that a lot of times, like myself, I didn't grow up learning the way that some kids are learning these math concepts these days. Okay? So if you have questions, ask. If your student has questions, ask. If you need to, okay, we live in the world of the internet. If you're not sure how to use lattice multiplication, okay, which is a video I'm going to make very soon. That might be my next video I make. Okay? Look it up. Okay? Check out my videos that I'm going to be making as time goes on. If you have questions, post them on the Facebook page, leave them in the comments. I want your ideas as to what kind of videos do you want me to make. I want to help your students out as much as possible. That's my purpose in doing all of this. Okay? So make sure that you ask questions. Contact the teacher, and make sure that your students know that it's okay to ask questions. They can ask you, and then you can look into it more. Or they can ask the teacher. Okay? The teacher can answer the questions as well. But make sure that they know it's okay to ask questions, because if you're studying and you're looking over your homework, you're working on your homework, and you don't know what's going on, what good does that do you? You need to focus on practicing right. I'm going to throw out Mr. Gust's name. Okay? Practice makes perfect is what we always hear. But Mr. Gust would always tell us, perfect practice makes perfect. If you're not practicing the right stuff, if you're not practicing the things that you need to practice, or if you're not practicing them correctly, you're not getting yourself any better. You're not making progress. So if you have questions, or if you think you might be off, make sure that you are on the right track. Check with somebody. Asking questions is not a bad thing. Elementary school, middle school, high school. Those are all huge. Now, when it comes to middle school and high school especially, all of those things that we chunk in with elementary school are important. Instilling that behavior in your students, in your sons and daughters, young, so that they can grow up with that and continue on with that mindset, that's what you need to do. That's going to stick with them all the way through middle school and high school. And trust me, as teachers, we appreciate that. Okay? We appreciate them getting into routines and understanding what is expected of them in elementary school, and then being able to have that exact same type of expectation at home as well from a young age. But in addition to the elementary pieces, you're going to have textbooks. Okay? Middle schoolers, high schoolers, you guys are going to have textbooks that you'll bring home. Maybe you have online textbooks. Okay? But regardless of whether you have online textbooks or whether you have the physical copies, if you can possibly get a physical copy, or if you can print off pages from your online textbook, I highly recommend you do that. Staring at a screen does work for some people. And some people can study, they can look over notes, they can read the textbook, they can do all of that online. But when it comes to textbooks, things that always help are going old school. Okay? Number one, reading out loud. It can be done online, or it can be done reading straight from a page or a textbook. Okay? But reading out loud instead of in your head, or in addition to reading in your head, is a big thing. Okay? It's going to help get ingrained into your memory and into your brain. You're going to make more of those neurological connections if you are both reading with your eyes and your mouth. Okay? And you're also hearing it at the same time. That's 3 different senses that are taking in that information. Okay? So doing that, reading out loud, reading it multiple times. Maybe you want to read it once silently. Maybe you want to read it once out loud. Maybe you want to read it to your dog or your cat. Read it to a pet. Read it to a family member. Okay? But read it over and over. I know there's a lot of stuff going on with people these days. You'd much rather be on your phone. You'd much rather be out at a game. You'd much rather be going to a movie, doing something like that. But taking that time to read, that's going to go a long way in your understanding of whatever you're learning about. Taking notes, highlighting. Okay? Right here, before I even sat down to do this, I took some notes. Okay? Notes are not a bad thing to have. In fact, that's using your senses right there. You are seeing the notes that you're taking. You are writing them with your hand, and that connection is being made in your brain as you are writing, as you are seeing. Okay? And then study what you wrote. Study the notes that you took. Highlighting as well. That's a big thing, especially if you have an online textbook. A lot of stuff these days with the technology, you can highlight things on the screen. But that is no substitute for having a paper in front of you, holding a highlighter in your hand, and physically highlighting pieces on a paper, okay? Whether it's vocab words, whether it's important pieces of a paragraph, okay? Maybe it's captions, whatever it happens to be. Highlighting things, taking notes on the piece of paper is a very, very helpful thing to do. Like I said, you can do that online as well. But being able to do that on a sheet of paper or inside of a textbook, if your school allows you to take notes in your textbook, that's nothing bad to do. Okay? Check before you do it, but that's a very important thing to do as well. It's going to help you make those connections. That's another great study skill to have. And flashcards, old school flashcards. Make some note cards. Okay? Either take some pre-prepared note cards or cut some pieces of paper up. And just make your own flashcards for whatever subject you're talking about. Okay? Math, put a problem on one side, answer on the other. If you are talking reading, put some vocab on one side, put the definition on the other. Okay? Put examples of something on one side, and then what that is on the other side. History or social studies, okay? State capitals and their states, or countries and their capitals, or dates, whatever it happens to be. Okay? Possibilities are endless. But make sure that you're using flashcards. It seems old school, and it is. But you can do that. If you prefer to do it online, there are services like Quizlet that you can make your own quiz, make your own flashcards on there and quiz yourself. Okay? That's not a bad thing. And quiz other people with those flashcards. Have other people use your online prepared Quizlet that you made. Whatever it happens to be. Okay? So when it comes to textbooks and using the information out of those are all great things to do. Okay? Reading out loud, reading multiple times, taking notes, highlighting, okay? Making flashcards, quizzing each other. Various things that you can do. Math. I want to talk specifically about math. Use your online resources. You can go online, you can Google various problems for whatever subject area you're talking about. Okay? If it's middle school, maybe you're starting to talk about fractions more, or probability, statistics. If you're high school, you've got some AP calculus maybe that you're taking, which is a difficult class all by itself. Okay? Whether it's trig, geometry, algebra, there are resources online. There are websites that you would not believe that can have problems you can find. The last thing that's on your mind may be doing more math problems, but that's going to help you. Okay? Do things that are going to help you. Okay? Don't just do things that are enjoyable, that are fun. Make it fun if you need to. Okay? Quiz somebody, make it into a game, whatever it happens to be. But the things that are going to be the most helpful, the most beneficial to you are not always the most enjoyable things. Fight through it. You're going to feel that pride. You're going to feel that success whenever you are complete and then you get that good grade on that test or on that quiz or on that homework assignment. Okay? Fight through what may be boredom for you and try to do your absolute best. That might mean putting in more effort than you typically would. Okay? Going and finding those online resources. Okay? Doing those extra problems. And this is going to sound weird. If you have an online textbook, ask the teacher for a hard copy of the textbook. Or maybe they have an older copy of the textbook. That goes back to working those extra problems. Okay? Have that physical textbook in front of you, and then you can look up problems in there, and then you can check your own answers to some of those problems in the back. Half the problems that are in textbooks, the answers are at the back, okay? Whether it's odds or evens, depends on the book, but some textbooks have all answers. Whatever that case happens to be, those textbooks help. Having that physical copy right in front of you is going to be a very beneficial thing. And they've got a lot of resources in those hard copies of textbooks. Okay? And the last thing is put yourself in your teacher's shoes. Not so much with elementary, but for middle school and high school. Okay? Try to imagine what your teacher is expecting from you. Okay? What do you think your teacher is going to have on the test? If you're not sure, ask them. They will tell you. Your teachers, any kind of good teachers out there, are going to tell you the types of things that you are going to have on the test, what you're going to see. Not a difficult thing to do. Okay? Teachers, we love it when you ask us questions. That's why we are there. Okay? Like I always tell my students when I walk into the classroom, I am not here to stand here and look pretty. Okay? Because if that was my job, I would be failing miserably. My job is to be there to teach you and to help you understand what I'm trying to teach you. If you have questions, ask. If you want to know what's on the test, I can give you an idea. Okay? I can tell you exactly what to study for, what to prepare for, what kinds of problems to look for. Okay? What types of vocab that I'm going to be looking for. So try to put yourself in your teacher's shoes. Okay? What would I expect you to know? What have I emphasized in class? What have I talked about the most? And what types of questions do you think I would ask? What type of questions do I ask you in class usually? Okay? Because odds are, if I'm asking you those types of questions in class, I'm going to ask you that kind of stuff on the test as well. So keep that in mind. All of those things, but most importantly, whether it's elementary, whether it's middle school, whether it's high school, okay? Most important thing, whatever your routine is, whatever your process is, make it yours. Make it a routine, make it a process. As human beings, we are creatures of habit. We've heard that all the time. We are creatures of habit. If you get into a routine, your brain's going to like that. Okay? You are going to be more successful when you do the same thing every single day. Or maybe it's every single week. Maybe you have a different Monday routine from a Tuesday routine. That's okay. But making sure that you know that, okay, today is this. It's this time, I need to be doing this. Okay, now it's this time, I need to be doing this. After this, I need to do this. Having that routine and knowing exactly what you need to be doing, getting your brain into that habit, okay, a study routine, a sleep routine, a school routine, a sports routine, an eating routine. All of those things are going to go a long way in making you more successful this upcoming year in school. So keep all of those things in mind. Okay? If you know somebody that is struggling with studying in school, with being able to focus, show them this video. Okay? Hopefully they will take something new out of this and they will have an understanding. There's the clock. It is officially 6 o'clock as I am taping this. And we'll let the music play out. Little Here Comes the Sun. It's good stuff. So, I'm just going to talk over it. So, that is what I want you to get out of this. I do want you to share this video, okay? Share it on Facebook, share it through email, share it through whatever you want to share it with. This is a very long song on this clock here. Yep. Here comes the sun. Yep, here comes the sun. So, I'm going to wrap it up there. As my song wraps up behind me, I'm guessing that's time for me to wrap things up. So, share this video. Hopefully this has helped you a little bit, and feel free to share this with your students, sons, daughters in elementary, middle school, high school. This is here to help you guys. It's here to help you as parents. It's here to help you as students. So, I want you to stay tuned. I want you to subscribe to this channel. I'm going to continue to have all of these videos completely free, and I'm going to continue to add on more and more videos as time goes on here. Like I said, this is my first video on this new channel. I look forward to doing a lot more, and if you have any idea for videos that I can do in the future, any questions your students might have at any point in time, comment below. Send them to me. Find me on Facebook, Michael Reddig. Okay? Look me up on there. I'm happy to assist you in any way that I possibly can. So, that's what I got for you today. Thank you very much for tuning in, for sticking with me, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.